Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and his bike, Mr. Nigel Collin.
So Nick's right. I haven't paid for parking in the last 2 weeks. I've actually, I didn't want to fly up on this particular conference, so I actually took the long way. I came from Sydney to Broken Hill and then up through basically remote Australia. And the reason I've done it, when we heard about the conference, the theme being Ignite Conversations, I'm actually working on a project now called Ingenious Oz Project. And what I'm basically doing is travelling around Australia, capturing and discovering stories of just everyday people out there who are doing incredibly ingenious things. Because I reckon this, right? When we talk about innovation, we often talk about the Googles and the Apples of this world. And Scott mentioned just then Indigenous innovation. Innovation belongs to everybody. And I've always reckoned that most people don't think they're very creative. And most people don't think their ideas are of any value, right? So I reckon if we just travel around discovering stories of everyday people who have had ideas and are doing amazing things that are making a difference, and we can change the landscape of this country innovatively and also make a big difference to our industry. So that's one of the reasons for riding up, is to capture these stories. And so I thought, wouldn't it be cool, and I didn't know what I was going to get, to share some of those stories with you. Because in essence, it's about going out there on the face of it and just having conversations. Just conversations with people and finding out what happens. So that's what I want to do over the next half hour, 40 minutes or so, is just touch on some of those stories and let you learn from them what you can, because there's some pretty cool people. I'm amazed. I'm gobsmacked when I hit remote Australia. Everywhere you turn, there is someone somewhere doing something innovative that you've never even heard of. And it's frustrating as hell, because you talk to one person, they go, you got to go talk to Keith. So you go talk to Keith and he's doing something amazing. You got to talk to Cheryl. And you go talk, and it doesn't stop. And so I think that's brilliant. I think it's really, really, really exciting. Now, why the bike? Because I could have driven, right? 3 reasons, basically. First of all, I love motorbikes. And hi, sweetie. Love my bike. So why not? But the second reason is this. For me, that motorbike represents the adventurous spirit of innovation and ideas. It represents to me, the adventurous nature of just giving something a go, of having an idea and then implementing it. But what I discovered, quite by accident, is what that really is a conversation starter. And people said to me, why are you riding alone? Why are you doing like 5,000 kilometres by yourself? The truth is, when you're on a bike, you are never, ever alone. Because everywhere you stop, someone will talk to you. And I want to give you just a very quick example of that. This is a bloke called Martin. Now, I literally... Well, not literally, but I ran into Martin in the middle of nowhere, about 150 kilometres south of Cooper Pedy. Has anyone ever been to Cooper Pedy? So you know what I mean, right? You travel for 2 hours and it does not change. It's just straight with the occasional bit. Is Glenn Lehman here? Oh, what a shame. Glenn Lehman, in my early days in the events industry, taught me that every 40 minutes in a conference, you need to do something different to keep people's minds active. And I reckon Glenn has consulted with the road, transport people of Australia, because it's about every 40 minutes, there's a bend. But other than that, it's just straight. So, and then you come across these roadhouses, and they're like a petrol station and usually a bit of a hotel and a pub that's usually decored and decked out better than we could theme anything. And they're in the middle of nowhere. No, and I'll come back to that. I mean that nicely, but anyway, so I'm filling up my bike at this petrol station, and this guy, Martin, just drives up, gets out of his... And I thought, look at that, that's a real outback character, right? Anyway, so I'm filling up my bike, and he's going to go, there you go. And I went, yeah, I'm good, there you go. So I go pay for my petrol, and I was going to have a cup of coffee. And I don't like you leaving your bike next to the pump, because obviously out there, they're very busy. And so you got to... Anyway, so I'm moving the bike, and you just kind of and that thing's 240 kilos when it's geared up, right? So I'm moving, and I'm having a chat with this guy, and I notice on his truck it says Radecki's Down Under, or Underground Hotel. So I'm thinking, he must be from... So where are you from? And as I'm walking my bike, I drop it, right? Which, yeah. So anyway, Martin's standing there, and he looks at it, and he looks at me and goes, suppose you want help picking that up. I'm like, yeah, nice. And I gave it a bit of an effort, but I got a bit of a bad back, and I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to things like that. He just goes, clunk. I went, I was actually really concerned. I said, did you hurt your back? You all right? He looked at me like I was some half idiot. I said, yeah. Anyway, we got talking. He owns the original underground hotel in Coober Pedy. And I was going past Coober Pedy, but he said, you've got to go there, and you've got to look at this, and you've got to look at that, and it's a great place, and drop into the hotel and tell him I sent you. So I did. This is his hotel. And it's beautiful. It's underground, and it's decked out really nice, and it's a backpacker's place. And underneath are all these dungeons. It used to be someone's home. And they've got all these beautiful photos of underneath. And then when you go under, for all of you venues, check out that for accommodation. Isn't it great? They call it the dungeons because it's like these catacombs. And they've got all these beds. It's absolutely sensational. I never, ever, ever would have come across this had I not dropped my bike. So it's a great conversation starter. And what's next door to him is an underground church, which if you read up on all the tourist stuff about Coober Pedy, you have to go visit the underground church. And I said, where's the underground church? I just go there, basically. So I walk out, I go, then I took a photo. How clever is this? I don't know if you can see this. Well, can you see the sign? So this is the church, and it goes into the hill, but on his hill, which is right next door, is a big sign saying Underground Backpackers Inn. So every tourist who goes to Coober Pedy to take a photo of the church gets his branding. Isn't that awesome? So anyway, here's what I did. I travelled from Sydney and I went across to Port Augusta and in the Flinders Ranges. There's some absolutely brilliant stuff going on in Port Augusta. And so I started having conversations with people. Now, the theme of this conference obviously is ignite the conversation. So before I go any further with any of the stories, I reckon we need to start having a conversation. Not a fake, forced, agenda-driven conversation, real conversations. So here's what I'd like you to do. There's going to be a few of these moments. I would like you just to, with the person next to you or behind you in front of you, preferably someone you don't know, 30 seconds, that's all you've got to do. Just 30 seconds, tell them why have you come to this conference? What's your goal? What's your objective? Just tell them why you're here. 30 seconds, go. All righty, well done. Cool. Now, here's the thing. And I'm not going to go around the room and ask you, but I would put money on it that most of you weren't having a genuine conversation. You were pitching, or you were having an agenda-driven discussion. And the reason I mention that is this. The reason I'm starting here at Port Augusta, for the first 2 days of this journey, because I knew I had to get stories and I had to, get on stage and talk about this journey, I was actually really conscious of getting stories. And so, I rocked up in Cobar and the Cobar show's on and I'm thinking, I used to produce the, Grounds Entertainment Easter show for 6 years. I'll go to, and I'd go, I used to produce the entertainment, blah, 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 and we'd have this, and then I watched all the footage back, it was rubbish. And it was rubbish because I was forcing the conversation. But by the time I got to Martin, whatever, it's like a big holiday. So real conversations, if you want to ignite a real conversation, you've got to let down that guard and you've got to drop your agenda and you've just got to be open and you've got to listen. And then you discover things that you could never, ever possibly have imagined. So I'm in Port Augusta. By the way, this lady sent me this map. She's been following me on Facebook and she has a company called Journey Jottings and she created this map. And so I've used it up here. But this is really cool. She's an artist. And, she just took it on her own to make these maps. And her slogan is, most maps tell you where to go. Journey Jottings help you remember your experience. So as you go around, you jot down where you've actually been. So I did it electronically. But that's pretty cool, isn't it? No, okay, I thought so. You have to pass it around. But it's an example of someone having an idea and just doing it. And it's not going to change the planet. It's not an iPhone. But it's a really good idea. And I think I rocked up at a place called Wycliffe Wells, which is somewhere. Yeah, near Tennant. You've been there? Yeah. UFO capital of Australia. Because back in the war, apparently there was a US military base and they saw strange lights. And since then it's become the UFO capital of Australia. And I spoke to this guy and he went, now that's because all the intergalactic highways cross over. It's like an ET spaghetti junction. And if you stay there for a week, you're guaranteed of seeing a UFO. And you would never stay there for a week, so he's never had to come out. But we'll rock into this roadhouse, and Journey Jottings is for sale on the counter. So often, we have these ideas and we don't give ourselves credit for them. I just think that's great. Anyway, so in the Flinders Ranges, in a little place called Hawker, I met probably one of the most inspiring people I have met for years. This is him. His name is Jeff Morgan. And Jeff Morgan is an artist. And he painted a panorama of the Flinders. Has anyone ever been to the Flinders Ranges? It's beautiful, right? So have you seen this? Isn't that amazing? So anyway, in this little town of Hawker, he built this like panorama. And what it is, he built the building to house it in, and it's this huge 360-degree painting of Wilpena Pound. And look at it, it's absolutely brilliant. So I wanted to interview him, right? And I rang him up and said, can I interview you? Because this is just brilliant stuff. And he's a very shy, unassuming kind of a guy. And I asked him, what gave you the idea to do this? Because he sunk $100 grand of his own money and put it on credit cards, I found out later on, right? Just pulled his house down to build the facility to house it. And so I said, why did you do that? And I was expecting him to say something along the lines, I needed to get a profile, I needed some, marketing clout. And he basically said this, the town was dying, people were leaving, the council left, things weren't going real good for us as a community, so I thought this would be a bit of a good draw card. I don't know about you, I find that absolutely astounding. Because here's someone who sunk $100 grand of their own money for something he really believed in to help his community. Now, it's paid dividends. You can buy his work for about $4 grand to $6 grand. He's now become a world-renowned artist of panoramas. But a very quiet guy. The next day I went out to the Flinders to see what it actually looks like. And that's the Flinders for real. And when you look at the painting that I showed you just a second ago in this, amazing, amazing piece of art. So I wanted to video him. And he was so shy, every time I'd point the camera at him, he'd wander off. And then I'd get him again and he'd wander off. So the next day I went back after I'd gone to the Flinders and I said, look, I really would love to get you on video because your story is just incredible. And he, oh yeah, okay. And I'd put the camera and he'd wander off again. And, I was thinking to myself, if I had a producer or someone with me, you could force the issue and make him do it. But then what you would then get is a pitch. He'd tell us what we wanted to hear, but we wouldn't get the real conversation. So what I did, I kind of just filmed around the place and I got him talking and chatting. And when you interview people, often for the first 5 or 10 minutes, they'll tell you what they think you want to hear. And after you kind of go, hey, that's really good, thanks, I think we've got all of that, and you leave the camera running, that's when you get the gold. So I want to play you just a 30-second snippet of this guy. And firstly, it shows you how humble he is. And secondly, he talks about the challenges he had of getting this up and making it happen. And just what you've got to do sometimes to bring an idea into the world. So have a quick look at this.
This is the major attraction now, this one out here. Just occasionally I'll look at it and it surprises me. I think, oh, did I do that? This was our house originally, yeah. So we had to knock our house down to do this, build this. So it's been a very hard slog. We've still got a lot of debt above our heads, because we've had to buy out partners it's just that when things were really tough at the times, you just had to keep the belief in what you was going to do and just keep bulldozing ahead, really.
You just got to keep the belief in what you want to do and keep bulldozing ahead. Most people give up on their ideas because it's too hard. We all face challenges and we all get hurdles and we kind of go, oh, I'll just go off into the next thing. But here's someone who really believed in what he was doing, and as a result of that, he just kept pushing through. If you ever go to the Flinders Ranges, you have to drop in on this guy because it is an amazing facility. And it's just, I love it because, again, it's just an everyday guy who's done an amazing, ingenious thing. And he's made a difference. He's made a difference to himself, but he's also made an enormous difference to his family. I asked him, how many people in a town that was dying, and I stayed in Hawker, it's like 4 streets. I said, how many people did you get through here last year? Any guesses? Any guesses? 5,000. Higher. Higher. 100,000. He's bringing into the town of Hawker 100,000 people a year. I just find that inspiring as. So from Port Augusta, I then went up to a little place called Daly Waters. Now, Daly Waters is kind of off the beaten track. It's a little township. Basically, there's a pub there. And Scott, love it, gave me one of the best leads ever. He said, you've got to go to Daly Waters. Everywhere along the route in remote Australia, there are these little roadhouses. And all these roadhouses are kind of themed out. And we talked about Wycliffe Well, which is themed in really tacky UFO memorabilia. And you can buy little green men. And I spent $25 on a T-shirt right? So someone's capitalising on this, which is really cool, I reckon. Anyway, when we get to Dally Waters, this pub, and it's built in 1930 originally, is probably one of the most relevant examples of what you'd call bush innovation that I saw along the way. Because here's somebody in a remote community who's just doing stuff and doing it really, really well. So this is the Dally Waters pub, and that's some of the theming inside of it. Now you go into these places. This one has kind of everything. It's got hat collections. So you go in and you give them your hat and it gets hung up. And the premise of this is you go back in 5 years to see if your hat's still there. They've got bras hanging down. So I donated one of my man bras. They've got, I thought that would have got a bigger laugh. Anyway, they've got underwear, and the lady's name was Robin. I'll show you the interview in a minute because it's just wonderful, right? And she said, yeah, every 4 months the whole thing gets taken down and washed. It's like painting the Harbour Bridge. We start over there with the bras. Every 4 months. Why? They're just hanging on the ceiling. And I said, how did that start? Because she's only owned the place for 13 years. And she said, I think it started from someone one night having a competition going, I bet you my undies that I can drink you under the table. And that could be a MEA thing we start tonight, I reckon. We could, don't you think? It could be like last year we started Club MEA. Let's this year start Undie MEA, or MEA Undies or something. Maybe not. An amazing place. And then, of course, I had the opportunity of interviewing her. So actually, I've got to go back. I've got to preface this. She showed us around, and again, most people, they let down their guard after a while. So we did the formal kind of thing, and then we just wandered around the place. And I asked her, and this is her response to this question, I asked her, what happens out here if your washing machine breaks down? Here's what she said.
You go to Mitre 3.
So explain Mitre 3.
Mitre 3 is the rubbish tip. And you find things out there. And you fix things as best you can until you can get the parts or the spare parts. But what we do is we build up spares and have a spare washing machine poked away somewhere. That's what we've been able to do over the years, and that's what we've found works. And you've got to be like that because you can't, there's no tradesmen. Just using what we've got here, rather than going out and buying new tables and chairs, we used old pallets, okay, and made the tables ourselves. So, and just the whole organisation, behind the scene organisation, it's incredible. We're like pelicans or ducks, just sailing along, gliding, but underneath we're going on boat.
So does that get like Ted Egan's of this world up here?
Ted loves this pub.
Does he?
Yeah.
What about who's the other guy, John Williams?
John, his signature's on the wall in there. John's dropped in. Jim Owen's been here. See the boot and the keg. That's the signal for happy hour. The rope's broken at the moment, so you come out and you ring it, and they all sit outside their caravan and they wait, and then away they go down the road for happy hour.
Isn't she great? And what was amazing, I rang her up, because you've got to go talk to this, so I rang her up before I got there, and I was telling her about Ingenious Oz and what we're doing, and she went, oh, you don't want to interview us, we're not very innovative. And I went, but that's the point. And then when I got talking to her, really innovative. That little pub, one street town, literally, one street town, got a caravan hooked. I said to her, how many people do you get in there a night? On average, 250. Packs it out every night. She has an entertainer every night. Her marketing, get on a website. Just type in Dally Waters Hotel. Her website is amazing. So again, it just demonstrates that ideas, great ideas, are everywhere. And we just need to be brave enough sometimes, and we just need to step out sometimes and just follow our ideas. Just stand our ground, like, good old Jeff Morgan. Oh, you just got to, if you believe in it, you just got to push through and do it. You'll also notice with Robin there that she's really chatty. And again, this is what happens. When you interview people, often you learn more underneath the questions. So it's not so much the answers you get to the questions, but often you learn a lot more by just being open to the conversation. Because the conversation isn't always what is being said directly. The conversation is what's happening underneath. And in Jeff Morgan's case, the artist from Wilpena, the conversation for him was massive because it was what was happening to his town. The town was dying. He was listening to that. It was affecting him. It wasn't about sitting at a table and someone going, the town's dying, we need to do something. He was open to it. And as a result, he went the direction that he did. So I want to give you a taste of this if I can, because over the next couple of days in this conference, it's going to be really important for you to have real conversations. Not plastic conversations, real, genuine conversations. Because I promise you this, if you can do that, the experience you will take away with you and the opportunities that will come from it will be things that you never, ever saw coming or never imagined. This is my favourite moment of the entire trip. And I did not expect this. This was something I could never have imagined happened. And yet, this particular moment summed up for me everything about Ingenious Australia. So I'm riding my bike along, and I see ahead of me a guy on a push bike. Now, I'm 100 kilometres north of Cooper Pedy and probably 200, maybe 300 kilometres to Alice Springs. We're in the middle of nowhere. And there's this guy riding a push bike. So I ride up next to him, and I slow down, I open up my visor, I go, where are you going? And he told me, right, have a look at this. This is just incredible. So this is back down at Cooper Pedy where this happened. You know, the country out there is absolutely amazing. Here we go, check this out.
How you doing? You riding, where you going?
Well, the guy in front of you down Darwin.
How you doing? Good. Good. Where you up to Darwin? I thought I had a long way to go.
So you probably couldn't hear any of that. But basically I just rocked up and I was amazed that I would have thought they'd told me to bugger off. I mean, if I was riding a push bike in the middle of nowhere and this guy on a motorbike rocks up, you'd be a little bit worried, wouldn't you? Like Wolf Creek, you know, rigs to me. So, but no, and I'm actually writing an article for one of the motorbike magazines as I'm doing the trip as well, right, about the characters you meet. And I thought a good way in, rather than going, I'm doing a piece on Innovative Australia, they would have gone, and so I went, hey, I'm doing a piece for a motorbike, can I get a photo? And he went, yeah, no worries. So I ride off ahead and I stop my bike and I get out to have the photo and I just thought they'd ride past me, but they stopped. And an hour later, in 40-degree heat, we're still chatting. And, you know, I said, what do you do you sleep? He goes, oh, out there. They've got little things on the back of their bikes with their tents and their swags or whatever it is, two mates. But what was incredible, I was fascinated with his story of you know, riding, you know, they're going to Darwin. So I don't know if you heard that, the first guy was going to Alice, but this guy was going to Darwin because his daughter lives here. I don't think he's here yet because it's only a week ago, right? Yeah, I said, give me a call when you're there. But I was really intrigued with that story. You know, why would you do that when you can ride one of these things? Anyway, well, Mary would know. Anyway, he didn't. Rather than tell me that, he goes, hey, I'll tell you a really good story. Check this out. Oh, there he is there coming up.
3 years ago, another mate of mine and myself were in Eden Dad and we got reined in there for 3 days. Then the day after we were there, this young bloke, Ben Woodcock, pulled up. And I'd got talking to him and he said he was riding to Darwin too, but he wanted to ride all the way on dirt, down out through the Tanamite on his own. And up to the Fink, the way we went up that Fink Heritage Trail, just straight north of Eden Dada. And anyway, he said when he got to Darwin, he was going to Timor. And I thought, that's nice, he's going on a holiday. Anyway, we had a barbecue with him and a few beers one night. And he said he's going to Timor all right, but he's paddling the sea kayak there. I said, what? I said, you're going to die.
Did he die?
No, he didn't die. But his main forte is not riding a bike, although he's just ridden across Australia and stuff like that. But he's a teaches kayak paddling at the TAFE College in Adelaide, and so him and his mate previously have paddled from new MEA to Australia. 1,600 kilometres in 18 days. And they had to stay in a wetsuit all the time to change positions to sleep. They had to get in the water and change the position in the boat.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. Anyway, they didn't get to Timor this time. They had to turn back because of the weather. 12 months later, my daughter rang me up from Darwin and she said, hey, that Ben Woodcock's on the ABC this morning. They actually did it. Got to Timor. He went back and had another go, him and his mate.
God.
So you think you're on an adventure and then you meet all these people. You're a bloody lightweight.
You don't even need to comment, do you? Dennis and Bob. Bob's 67 years old. Dennis, 75. I said, why are you doing this? Oh, well, seemed like a good idea. That's what they said. And that, to me, summed up everything. I learned more in that conversation than I have in years, because it's not about how smart you are, and it's not about the experts you listen to. It's about, I've got an idea, I'm just going to get on my bike and I'm going to do it. What's your excuse for not pursuing your ideas? Seriously. Because remote Australia is full of everyday people just getting on their bikes, doing their stuff. And for me, that is just inspiring. So on that note, I'm going to continue on. We've just done the first leg of the journey, and I'm going to get on this bike and I'm going to travel this entire country capturing these stories because I think they're of great value. I'll join you for the rest of the conference, of course. Have a great conference. We're heading out to morning tea, and I'll see you out there on the road somewhere on your bike.